YouTube, this is 101 Brunson, back with the final installment in our Sergio Corbucci movie review series. Today we're taking a look at none other than The Great Silence from 1968, my all-time favorite Sergio Corbucci film. I literally just got done watching it, the credits were rolling just a few moments ago. What a movie. What an ending. It's just fantastic. Let's get into it. Spoiler alert for if you haven't seen this film, because I really have to discuss the ending and the big plot developments that happen in this film. So I just can't do that without leaving a huge spoiler tag. So, and this will be for the entire review. So if any of you that click this video haven't seen this movie, The Great Silence, go away, watch the film, find it, download it, get a copy of it, and then come back, and then we'll talk. Because this is a film that you have to go into fresh if you haven't seen it. I just cannot stress this enough. It will ruin the experience if you watch this review before the movie. And yeah, that's all I can say. Just don't watch the review if you haven't seen the film. Unless you're one of those guys that just doesn't really give a shit about spoilers for a movie from 1968 or whatever. But all I can do is I strongly recommend you against watching the review before watching the film. That having been said, it's the absolute final thing I'm going to say about that. No more spoiler alerts. You have all been warned extensively. So here we go, The Great Silence from 1968. It stars Jean-Louis Trintignant and Klaus Kinski as the two leads of the film. We have Jean-Louis Trintignant as the titular character, Silence, who is a mute gunslinger. And we have Klaus Kinski as Loco, who is the bounty killer who, well, he's the bad guy, let's just put it that way. He's an evil bounty killer. We also have some great spaghetti western faces in this film. Luigi Pistilli is in this as the banker Polycarp, Henry Polycarp. Another villainous character, Luigi Pistilli. He's been in so many great spaghetti westerns. He's been in some of the finest ones. He's been in the Sergio Leone ones. He's been, A Few Dollars More, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. He's been in Death Rides a Horse. Obviously, this movie. Terrific spaghetti western character actor of this genre. Great role for him. He played a nasty piece of work as well. You also have Mario Brega, the Sergio Leone, one of Sergio Leone's stock company, one can say, because he's been in the entire Dollar trilogy. I think he might have missed Once Upon a Time in the West and Lucky Soccer, but he also appeared in Once Upon a Time in America from Sergio Leone, which is not a western, of course, but he's been in so many spaghetti westerns as well. Plays a great, villainous henchman, if you will, in this one. The main love interest, Vonetta McGee, beautiful black actress. She's been in a lot of stuff as well. I mostly remember her from the, besides this movie, of course, I mostly remember her from the Eiger Sanction with Clint Eastwood. She was in that. Great cast, great story. The script is once again from the hand of Corbucci himself, along with a couple of co-writers. Maybe, if I'm not mistaken, Bruno Corbucci was involved as well, the brother of Sergio. Maybe there were a few other writers. The music, gotta mention this as well, by Ennio Morricone. One of my favorite Morricone scores besides the Dollars trilogy, for sure. It might even hold up and compete with some of those scores, to be honest. It's a very haunting, dark, gloomy score. It sets the mood for this so well. It's a movie set in the snow in Utah. The locations and the snowy environments, they're fantastic. I love my snow movies. I think there's a pattern, because you can see from genres and franchises, if there's a installment of anything that takes place in snow, it's usually the one that I love the most. For the Bond movies, my favorite movie is On Her Majesty's Secret Service. A lot of that has to do with the Switzerland setting in that film. Not most of it, of course, I just love that story. That's the best Bond story, but that's another subject. Death Hunt is one of my favorite Charles Bronson films, also a snow movie. I love my snow movies. And there's this one, The Great Silence. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about the plot and the characters. I talked about the main players in this film, the actors. But anyway, the gist of the story is that you have this silent gunslinger, Silence, who basically goes around and defends the innocent, so to speak. He goes out and kills bounty killers and evil people, for lack of a better term. He shoots off thumbs so that people can't use their guns anymore, or he just kills them. You know, he lets people draw first. He always, you know, lets people draw first, but he's way faster, so he wins always. And of course he claims it on self-defense. Anyway, that's his role in the film. It's set up. Great introduction scene for him as well, where he's ambushed by a couple of outlaws, and he shoots them all. You know, and it's all in the snow. I love it, especially in snow movies when you see blood in the snow, the red on the white. It just works so well. The visual element of that. Then on the other side you have Loco, the bounty hunter, Klaus Kinski, at one of his finest performances ever, in my opinion. Klaus Kinski he was a great actor. He's been in so many great stuff, great movies. But this is one of his finest hours, in my opinion, as the crazy bounty killer Loco. It's a villain you love to hate. He steals the show, in my opinion. That's a damn fact. But anyway, you have him. He kills a couple of people in the beginning of the film, sadistically. He kills actually the man of this woman called Pauline, played by Vonetta McGee. So that's why she tries to contact and hire Silence to get revenge on Loco for killing the husband. And that's how they meet up. She actually becomes the love interest for Silence later on. Anyway, that's basically the setup of the story, is that Loco has killed the husband of Pauline. Pauline wants revenge, hires Silence to do it, and then it's going to be a battle of, well, pretty much a game of cat and mouse, actually, of who's going to get who first. There's a couple of, you know, little showdowns between Silence and Loco. They meet up a couple of times. It's always very tense when they're both on the screen together. And there's also the sheriff, the new sheriff of Snow Hill. He comes into town, played by Frank Wolff. Why did I forget Frank Wolff? He's also a spaghetti western regular. He's been also in so many. Of course, his most famous hour was Once Upon a Time in the West. He was in that film. He plays the sheriff, Burnett, in this movie. I actually wrote this down here. This is the only bit of criticism I have on this great film. The sheriff is an idiot. Alright? If the sheriff hadn't again, no, I'm just not going to give spoiler warnings. I'm going to talk about something that's very spoilery. If the sheriff hadn't intervened with the showdown in town with Loco and Silence, the film would have been over right there and then. You have this scene, Loco has been warned by Polycarp, you know, watch out, the newt is coming for you, and stuff like that. And then you have a scene actually where Silence is provoking Loco to go for his gun. He's like, well, I'm not going to lose my temper, and stuff like that. So he takes off his gun belt and he actually gets in a punch-up with Silence. Silence knocks him straight out of the saloon, actually. Knocks him right through a wall. And then Silence throws his... Actually, Silence first shoots the friends of Loco that are trying to, well, you know, come to Loco's aid. But then Silence shoots them all. They drew first. obviously, and then Silence throws the holster and the gun belt with the gun of Loco. He throws it at Loco's direction, and he wants to go for it, but then the sheriff intervenes. And I was like, well, if the sheriff didn't come in there, Silence would have shot Loco. The film would have been over. So I wrote down the sheriff is an idiot just because of that. That's my one piece of criticism. The sheriff is a fucking idiot. And it's further demonstrated in the scene after. The sheriff has arrested Loco. Loco is in the jail. There's this prostitute from the saloon. She comes over. There's sort of this flirtation going on with her and the sheriff. He makes some sort of negative remark about the prostitute. He wants to punch Loco, and he punches right. And Loco is behind bars, obviously, behind in a jail cell, in the sheriff's jail cell. And he wants to punch Loco in the face, but he punches on the iron bars, and it was such a goofy moment. That was probably the only moment in this film that if I could cut anything out, it would be that, because it's such a serious and bleak and dramatic sort of spaghetti western, this one. We don't need those little moments of relief. It just feels a little out of place, if you know what I mean. So I wrote down the sheriff is an idiot. If it wasn't for him, the film would have had a happy ending, because let's skip forward now and go towards the finale. The sheriff is escorting Loco away from town into a actual proper jail, the prison. He wants to take him to prison, get him tried and convicted, and get him to prison. I forget what charges he drummed up, but anyway, on the journey, Loco says, I have to go, I have to take a shit. So they stop, and Loco has planned this. They stop at this place where there's a gun buried, and Loco takes a gun, doesn't shoot the sheriff, but they are standing on this icy lake, or the sheriff is anyway. And Loco makes the sheriff back up with a couple of shots, and then shoots the lake, the icy lake, and sheriff goes down. That was that useless character. Anyway, normally the rule of thumb in movies is if you don't see a body, you shouldn't assume that somebody is dead. So the first time I watched this film, I was like, maybe a sheriff is gonna come back, but nope, sheriff's dead. That is Dillinger. So Loco then escapes, go back to his friends who are hiding in this cabin, and they go back to town, wreak havoc. Actually, one of the people that Loco goes to get is his brother was killed in the saloon by Silence. So there's people joining Loco to get revenge on Silence. Silence, by the way, had been injured in that saloon scene in the confrontation with Loco. In between that, we had a great love scene with Pauline, Vonetta McGee and Silence. She bandaged his wounds, and then, they had sex. So there's a interracial love scene in a film from 1968, which I don't think many people even think about. But this was 1968. Segregation was still a thing back then. And to have a film from an Italian director with a white male lead, a black female lead. Okay, to be honest, she isn't fully black, but she definitely is black-skinned. Dark-skinned, I should say. But it's not, many people don't even talk about that, and it's pretty groundbreaking in my opinion. That's what I thought anyway. Anyway, after that love scene and Loco with the sheriff and everything, Loco gathers up, a sort of posse, if you will, goes back to town. In the meantime, Polycarp and his henchman Martin, played by Mario Brega, show up at Silence and Pauline's house, actually. And there's a confrontation there. Turns out, actually, when Silence was a kid, it's actually revealed earlier in the film, but when Silence was a kid, there's a flashback scene. It's actually explained why he is mute. He actually had his vocal cords cut or removed, I guess, by this guy with the knife. The guy with the knife already died, but one among them of the people that killed his parents and actually made him mute, was the banker Polycarp, Luigi Pistilli. So Luigi Pistilli still had a bone to pick with Silence as well, because a couple of years after, there's another flashback that's actually played in this scene where Polycarp comes to Silence. It's actually revealed that Polycarp had his thumbs shut off by Silence. So anyway, there's a confrontation there. Long story short, Polycarp dies, Mario Brega dies. He actually gets a brutal scene in which he is thrown out the window, like right on this furnace, I guess, and he burns his face. It's a very gruesome image. I love that scene. That was a very good one. Anyway, Loco and company arrives in town. Mario Brega, in his last dying breath, manages to tell Loco about what happened and everything, and where Silence is and stuff like that. And then Loco goes looking for Silence. This group of outlaws from the mountains, they come down. There's been this group of outlaws there, sort of targets for Loco. He also wants them dead. There's bounty on him and everything. But they're actually not outlaws. They're actually good people who just, because of Polycarp, he's the corrupt banker and everything. He's actually the one that put out the bounties on people. He actually put those bounties out on innocent people and stuff like that. So those outlaws come down. Loco and his posse capture them as well. Vonetta McGee is also captured, sort of captured. And now we really get down to the ending. Loco says to Pauline, "I want the mute to come shoot it out with me. Send him here. It's just gonna be him and me. It's all gonna be fine. Just him and me. Shoot it out, mano a mano." And you're thinking like, okay, cool. It's gonna be Kinski versus Trintignant, final showdown in the main street of the town. But no, Pauline goes to get Silence, or tell Silence, and she also says, it's probably a trick, don't fall for it. But Silence goes anyway, and then he walks down the main street. They're all in a saloon, and he approaches the saloon, and then upon arrival, he gets shot by one of Loco's flunkies. Then Loco himself steps out after Silence has been, at this point, pretty much rendered useless. He's been shot in the arm, his hand is burned, broken, or shot. He's shot here, he's shot there. He's pretty much a dead man. You know this one. You know this going. This is not going to go well at that point. You still hold out hope. Like I said, the first time I was like, the sheriff is probably going to turn up now and also aid Silence or whatever. But Loco stands there, tension builds up, the music by Morricone, kicks in high gear. Silence, with a lot of effort, pulls out his gun, wants to shoot Loco, is shot by one of Loco's flunkies again, and then is when Loco pulls out his revolver and shoots Silence right in the fucking head. So Silence dead. Then Pauline comes, screams, "You murderers," picks up Silence's gun. Kinski, Loco, shoots her too. If that was enough, all the outlaws that were captured and held by Loco and his team of killers, they all get executed. Boom, boom, boom. They just shoot and shoot and shoot, and they keep shooting and they keep shooting. And then Loco says, "Okay, on these people there's a bounty, but we can collect that later. All according to the law." And that's the last line in the movie. Loco and his people run right off. And then there's this text that come up, as it said something to the effect of, no matter what happens, nobody can erase what happened here and stuff like that. It was like a very, I don't know what to think of the last scroll, but it was very fitting. It was fitting. Anyway, end of the movie. Everybody dead. The bad guy wins. Excellent. That has totally, it's almost unfathomable that something like that happened. It was like Corbucci was showing you, okay, well, you've seen Django. He beat the odds, with his broken hands. He was, he beat the odds with his broken hands. He was able to, with his broken hands and all of his conflictions that happened to the character of Django, he was able to prevail in the end. Now I'm going to show you what it would really be like. It's like what Corbucci is doing with this film. Totally subverting our expectations, because obviously one would think, you know, silence is just going to get him. It's going to be, you know, he's been beaten, he's been broken, he's been shot, whatever. But he's still going to be prevailing in the third act. He's going to, you know, sort of resurrect, like Eastwood in A Fistful of Dollars, like I said, Django did. But no, it totally subverts the expectation. I feel that is a quote that is misused a lot these days, but this film, it truly is a subversion of expectations. You think the movie's going to go one direction and it steers you in a different one, the total opposite one. And it's brilliant, it's fantastic, I love it. There's nothing left to say, really. The Great Silence from 1968 gets 5 stars out of 5. This is a bona fide masterpiece, classic. One of the finest movies ever made. Not just westerns, not just spaghetti westerns, but one of the finest movies ever made. Anyway, that concludes my review for The Great Silence. And it concludes, of course, the Sergio Corbucci retrospective series. I really hope you all enjoyed this series. I certainly had a lot of fun every week with doing this, and we're going to recap the movies that we had. So we're going to do a little mini ranking at the end of this. So if you all remember, number 13 we had What Am I Doing in the Middle of the Revolution, which got a 1.5 star out of 5 from me, Corbucci's weakest film in my opinion. At number 12 we had The White, the Yellow and the Black, also 1.5 stars out of 5. I might be inclined to give that a 2-star rating. I liked it a little better actually than 1.5 if I sort of revisit it. So that might be cranked up to a 2, but that's about the most I will get. Number 11 we had Massacre at Grande Canyon, which got a 2-star out of 5. Number 10 we had The Specialist, which got a 2.5 stars out of 5. At number 9 we had Sonny and Jet, which also got a 2.5 stars out of 5. At number 8 we had Ringo and the Golden Pistol, aka Johnny Oro, which got a 3-star rating out of 5. At number 7 we had The Hellbenders, which got a 3.5 star rating out of 5. That's a solid one for sure. Same can be said for the next two. At number 6 we had Minnesota Clay, 3.5 star out of 5. Number 5 Navajo Joe, 3.5 stars out of 5. At number 4 we had Compañeros, 4 stars out of 5. Number 3 we had The Mercenary, 4.5 stars out of 5. And then number 2 was Django, 5-star rating out of 5. And of course this week's movie, The Great Silence, 5 stars out of 5. Nothing really left to say except thank you all for sticking with me throughout the last couple of weeks where this was a weekly thing, of course. I really hope you all enjoyed the movie reviews. Hope I got a little bit better and better per video. And nothing really left to say except thank you all for sticking in there. This has been 101 Bronson. And well, I guess there's one more thing I would like to say. Thank you to Sergio Corbucci for all these great movies and the not so great ones as well, because it gave me a great video series to do, and I really loved going through his filmography, film by film, and review them from least favorite to favorite. I really see the progression per film. Grazie, Sergio. That's about all that's left to say. So thank you all for watching. This has been 101 Bronson. Keep punching, stay safe and healthy. Adios amigos, until the next one.